the dominoes would so happen that I go to the restaurant because of Tony. Imagine taking a photo with him. Take it with him and his wife, like the exact way I imagined it. Take care of the bill as if I wanted it on a check, the same way I dreamed of it on the checklist. Have him call us over. Go talk to him with his family all the time in the world, no security, no rush. And then of his own volition, say, hey man, would love to do the podcast. I'll put you in touch with my team. We'll set it up 100%. And that was the day one of my dreams came true.
A YouTube personality who interviews major figures within the world of business and sports on his channel, The Passionate Few, which has grown to 160,000 subscribers. Omar Elattar.
If you're on either side of the coin, you're not centered, you lose touch with your intuition. Your mind starts feeding.
Because your intuition requires balance to hear.
Yes,
I can
you
see
need
that.
to be centered. Your mind needs to be quiet in order to feel the intuition. And when you're on a high, your mind is just consistently thinking about it, coming up with things.
Yeah.
And you lose touch with that intuition, which will give you the next step.
Yes.
You can't find the next step because you're so caught up in your mind.
Yes. I think space and time horizons disappear when you're aligned.
Joe, my friend, man, we've been friends for probably
7 years or so.
7 years.
Yeah.
We were little young men when we first met.
Yes.
Doing different things.
It's an honor to be on the show, bro.
Your podcast was a pretty big thing for me because you had, you have a big podcast, and especially back then when I was first getting started out, and you brought me on, and I think it got like over 200,000 views.
Yeah, something like that, 250,000 views or something. Yeah,
which is pretty crazy. That was
insane.
a big break for me.
Thanks, man.
I appreciate that one.
Yeah, you're welcome.
7 years later, thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't know if I ever thanked you for it.
Well, you're welcome. I'm glad it helped you and your business and get your message out there. It's awesome.
So I see you're enjoying yourself here in Florida.
To say the least, yes. I'm having a blast.
Yeah, you started telling me an incredible story from last night, but I knew we were doing this podcast, so I made you stop telling me the story.
Yes, sir.
I want it to be organic. We're both, Tony Robbins' work has changed both of our lives. Met incredible people there, learned a lot. We talk about a lot of that stuff just regularly. And so can you share what happened last night?
Yeah, man. So last night was probably one of the top 10 greatest experiences of my life. There's the short version, but I'll give you the long of it. Long story short, we run into Tony Robbins. And
you were at Date with Destiny here.
I was at Date with Destiny. So I'll go back to the beginning. So this is the story of how I manifested or connected with Tony Robbins. Thank you to the universe and God.
Yesterday.
Okay.
Like so
12 hours ago. Fresh off the buzz. So basically, I on a whim, I was in Dallas, Texas about a week and a half ago, and I was trying to figure some stuff out, some family challenges and health challenges with loved ones and stuff that weighs heavy on me. And so I've been in this phase of trying to untangle some inner webs. And so on a whim, I'm talking to my buddy on the phone, and he goes, like midnight, he goes, dude, you should go to Date with Destiny or one of Tony's events, man. I feel like that would really, every time you go to those, it like always levels you up. Like you should go to that. When's the next one? So I check, and when I check, I'm like, holy cow, it like started that day. Like Date with Destiny, I look at the date, I look at the schedule, I'm like, dude, you're right, let me go. And I look at the schedule, and it like that day was day one.
Wow.
Day one.
Crazy timing.
Great, insane. So I'm like, all right, I've been on this thing where like when the universe tells me something, I let my logic get out of the way. Kind of like me and you talk about. It's like a lot of times the subconscious or the universe will whisper things to you, and then out of fear, you kind of shut it down. But I threw caution to the wind and said, F it, let's do it. Long story short, I canceled my flight back to Cali, and I book a flight to Date with Destiny, and I check my messages, and I had been in communication with I'm very close with Tony's team, and so I message him, and I'm like, and he had messaged me before, and I forgot to get back to him about, if you ever want to come to any events, just let me know. The next one, and the next one is Date with Destiny, and da-da-da. So I'm like, this is crazy that he even messaged me and I didn't reply. So long story short, I end up hitting him up, and the team was kind enough to comp me tickets. So I go down to Date with Destiny. I have a transformational week, and I'm jumping and screaming and doing all the crazy things, learning and embodying the stuff. And 2 days later, after the event, we do the podcast with you. And so after we run the podcast, we go to get something to eat. And I'm with a friend of mine, and we're like, oh, where should we go eat? And I'm like, well, Tony always talks about this place called Palm Beach Grill that him and his wife like love to go to. It's like their spot or whatever it is. So we're like, all right, so we go there. And what's crazy is on the drive there, like joking around, I was like, imagine we go there and we see him and his wife and we get like a photo with them. Like, wouldn't that be crazy, right? And ladies and gentlemen, the plot thickens because that's exactly what happened. So long story short, we go to the restaurant. We're waiting outside in line, and like a black SUV pulls up. You know, the VIP classic suburban, car pulls up. So a car pulls up, and then jokingly to my friend, I say, hey, there's Tony and his family. Like totally joking around. Totally. Door opens up, and wouldn't you know, Tony's family walks out of the freaking car. It's not Tony yet, but it's his whole family. Because going to events, you get to meet the people. So, and we look at each other, and we're just like, oh my God.
That's unbelievable.
Did this really just happen?
And for people, like, when you're at an event like that for
Yes.
6 days and you're working on yourself and that kind of, the guy is on stage for 10 plus hours a day giving you his
16
all.
or something like
everyone
that.
falls in love with him. Like, he becomes like,
Yeah.
everyone fucking loves him. So, okay, so you're there. He
Yeah,
walks
so we're
with us.
there. The energy's high. I'm inspired. I got a new mission statement. So the energy's high. So for the audience listening, it's like, it's not just a seminar where you go listen. It's like a full embodiment energy. If you haven't been, highly recommend it. But yeah, we go in and we're just looking at each other tripping, like no way. And there's a big table of like 12 and we saw like 10 of them walk in. So there's 2 more seats. And so in my head, I'm like, no way. So we're looking at each other and we're just like, there's no way. We talked about this, joked about this, came here because of this. And I'm like, all right, if they walk, so my friend was like seated in a way, like facing the door. We got a table close. So I'm like, all right, if they walk in, just like signal me. And then right when they walk in, like we'll beeline it to them to elegantly talk to them, not run, not just respectfully walk over, but in a short 11-second window of time.
Yeah.
So boom, I see my friend eating, and out of nowhere, just like shock in the face, I look, and Tony Robbins right there walks in the door. Tony is just right there. And so we're just like, oh my God. So I get up, we make a beeline to go talk to Tony. I'm just like, hey, Tony, thank you so much for changing my life. This was unbelievable. This last week, your event date with Destiny was incredible. And he's like, oh, what's your name? And I told him, and I'm like, we met here. And he's like, oh yeah, I remember you from California. And so we're just talking, and then I'm like, yeah, man, and we have the podcast. Would love to have you on, and just kind of like elegantly seated it. And we got to say hi, and then obviously, his wife came out, and then we end up taking a photo, the exact photo that we joked about taking by going there.
Insane.
So that happens. They go sit down, and then so that's crazy, number one. And I know it's long-winded, but trust me, this is insane. So they go to the table, and the whole time we're just like tripping, like brain broken. Like, how did this? What? Like, we talked about energy yesterday on the podcast. We followed the energy, and you couldn't get a more direct ROI experience. And man, so crazy. So we go there, or they go there to sit down. They eat their meal, and I had the clever idea of comping their meal. Now it was 12 people, so it was like a sizable.
How'd you do that? You just told the server, hey, whatever they get, just put it on my credit card?
Yeah, I called the server over, and they told the manager. And funny enough, they actually said somebody else wanted to pay, like offered to pay, which I thought is a testament to Tony's impact.
Yeah, someone else in the restaurant offered to pay.
Exactly. And I've heard on Tony's tapes, and I got to tell him this. Trust me, if you stay to the end of this, you'll be blown away, bro. Hang tight. It's like, it's so crazy how this comes full circle. So Tony talks about in podcasts how he goes, where were all these people when I was broke? He goes, after I've had all this impact, I could buy the restaurants if I wanted to, and like chefs and everybody will come out to meet me and comp meals and stuff. So I always heard that. And on my bucket list a long time ago, I had wrote down that one of my dreams was to get dinner with Tony and his wife and take care of the bill and everything. So I wrote that down years ago after hearing that. So that was my moment. So the manager came over and was like, yeah, someone else offered to pay. And I was like, respectfully, like whatever it takes, like I'm the guy, I'm taking care of it, like everything. And they're like, are you sure it's like, you want just Tony to cover, or it's like 12 people? Like, do you want the whole bill? I'm like, yeah, whatever it takes, like the whole thing. So she's like, all right. So we take care of the bill, and they give us a card to write a thank you on and give it to them. From across the restaurant, we watch, right, their reaction, right? Waiter goes over, takes care of it, and Tony's just like, oh man, and he's so stoked and grateful and everything. And his whole family like turns around and looks over at us. And his brother-in-law stands up, and they're just like waving from across the restaurant at Palm Beach Grill. Wave
No way.
at us to come over. I swear to God. They wave at us to come over to. And in my head, I'm like, no way, Tony Robbins, the guy who changed my life years ago when I was trying to figure out how to make my life work. His tapes and audios impacted me so much when I had nothing. And I know we vibed on that years ago. To think that a guy I once listened to in my rock bottom when I couldn't afford to put gas in my car is now across the table. I took care of his family, and he's waving over to me. I'm just like, this is like,
It's unbelievable.
How, you know?
It's impossible.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
You couldn't, you know? And like, there's just so many elements. The timing, the fact that we went there, the fact that the pod went a little bit later, and it's just there's so many things.
The fact that you went to the event the day it started when you were supposed to go back to California. There's so many things that are impossible.
I got there day 2, and not only that, I was the last person to buy a ticket, the last person to check in the bag, and the last person on the plane. That's how I literally booked the ticket with the last window of time. It was the last flight out of Florida because it came up like super last minute.
Yeah.
And I bought the ticket, figured out the rest later, and just it was like a dream come true, dude. And they wave us over, and they invite us over to their table where the whole family is. His brother-in-law stands up, they wave us over, they come over and escort us. Like he comes over and he's like, "Oh, please come." So we get to go to the table.
Oh my
with
God.
Tony Robbins and his wife and the whole family.
And what happens? Do you go to
We go to the table and we just start talking because they're done with their meal at this point, so it's relaxed and all this, and we're just talking for what felt like forever. I don't know, time stood still. I know it sounds nuts, dude, but yeah.
What do you guys talk about?
I don't even remember. We were just talking about like his impact in my life. We were talking about how he grew up kind of by me, and I told him, thank you so much for pursuing your dream. I know over the years it's been ups and downs, but because of you changed so many lives. My friend got to share the transformation in their life too, and so it was just this beautiful moment. And his whole family was there, listening and attentive and grateful that and he was like, "Thank you so much, man." Tony Robbins gave me a hug and said, "Omar, thank you so much. That was so generous of you. You didn't have to do that. You're so kind." And I'm like, "Tony, it's the least you could do. You changed my life, and this is it's nothing compared to the millions of times X of value you've given me and my family and my loved ones, and so just thank you. It's the least I could do, And the whole family's like super grateful, and we're talking and all this, and I don't know. And I'm talking to him asking about like quick business things, and like real quick this, and I'm just flying off quick questions.
Yeah.
And then obviously we wanted to be respectful and not overstay the welcome. And then of his own volition, because I had seeded the podcast thing, and I wrote it on the card like, "Thank you. This is the young man at the door who's saying thank you." On the card when I paid the bill, the waiter gave me a card, and on the card I just said, "To Tony, Sage, and family, 10 years ago I was in a rock bottom place in life, and your messages changed my life. Thank you so much. This is the young man you met at the front door with the podcast."
That's a good way to slip it in there.
Right?
It's not asking anything. You just
give him just thank you.
Just
thank
reminder.
You. Thank you to the universe.
And thank you. Yeah.
So when I go to the table later, in the middle of us talking and being the good energy, he said something to the effect of like, "Man, you're good energy," or "Man, you're fucking awesome," or whatever it is. Gave me a big hug, and he goes, "Man, I'll do your podcast. Would love to do it."
Wow.
He goes, "We'll set it up. I'll set you up with my team, and we'll do it 100%, brother. I appreciate you, and
holy shit,
very generous of you. Thank you so much." And in my head, I'm like, no freaking way. My mind is blown. No way that I went from a podcast after a week-long thing, after a last-minute thing, trying to up my life. The dominoes would so happen that I go to the restaurant because of Tony. Imagine taking a photo with him. Take it with him and his wife, like the exact way I imagined it. Take care of the bill as if I wanted it on a check, the same way I dreamed of it on the checklist. Have him call us over. Go talk to him with his family all the time in the world, no security, no rush. And then of his own volition, say, "Hey, man, would love to do the podcast. I'll put you in touch with my team. We'll set it up 100%. And that was the day one of my dreams came true. Just like that.
That is a magical story. It's an inspirational story, not because of what happened, but because of how things happened.
Yes.
It's just a pure example of how the universe serves you what you need, and you're the only one that can get in the way of it.
Yes.
Someone mentioned you should go. You didn't think about it. You went. There's so many people get in the way of these types of destinies
Yes.
for themselves. Their minds get in the way. They overjudge things. They overthink things. They don't take the action that's right there in front of them because it doesn't make sense in the moment. They talk themselves out of things. But if you can just follow the breadcrumbs, it's
Yes.
like you don't need to know what the end outcome is.
Yes.
You just need to follow the next little step, and then the next little step, and the next little step, and the next little step,
Yes.
and let go along the way.
Yes.
And it'll lead you to something that you could never have imagined. And that's just a pure example of that. Zen Hard listeners, please pardon this abnormal interruption. I do need to let you know, this episode with Omar was incredible. Unfortunately, the cameras were a little bit blurry, and we've been going back and forth on, do we want to refilm it? Do we want to not release it? Do we want to do audio only? But I thought, our listeners are great people. I'm sure they would understand. We all make errors. The episode was filled with so much genuine and authentic good energy because of the timing of things that we really just have to release it. So there's a bit of blurriness in the video, but please bear with us, and we really appreciate it. You're going to love the episode. Thanks, guys.
And it's funny because there's a quote I heard. I forget who it's by, but it's this concept, and it's really been on my heart lately, is that it's more important for a man or woman to remind themselves of what they already know than to learn something new. And I think so often we're focused, especially when you're in personal development and mindset and growing, of like, oh, this new thing, instead of learning an old thing at an even deeper level, right? Because you can know something intellectually, very different than in your body and your gut, and And I know it's similar to your story, right? Like one of the things I respect so much about you is we've always vibed on the energy tip, right? Shout out to Elliot for the energy in the background. But I've realized and reminded myself of the fact that like most of the blessings in my life are the disproportionate opportunities came from intuitive ideas or pulls, something that wasn't scheduled, a last minute thing, a whisper to go here, a thing like an invitation somewhere, a whisper of something. And my logical mind will be like, well, I don't have the time, or I have the, or this is not in the budget, or this is not in the, you know what I mean? All the logical attachments to the outside thing. But listening to the inside, there's like a pull. And I don't know what it was. But even when we were discussing, the crazy part is that even when we were discussing where to go eat, we were like brainstorming ideas. And in my intuition, it was just like, no, certainty, we're going there. Like it just something, it was just there. Yeah. And the timing they were there, and the sequence of events was so serendipitous that it made me realize like something internally that whispered was connected externally to something that manifested. And I think so often we're attached to outside constructs that we forget to live from the inside direction.
It's not even forget. It's we lose touch with the inside direction because things pull us away from it. It's I would argue to say that 100% of the time you should be listening to the inside intuition, to your gut. The problem is the mind gets so strong that it's really good at convincing you not to listen to your intuition because of all these different reasons. And most people never follow their intuition because they either don't learn these things or they don't have validating experiences that let them listen to it the next time.
100%. And I can't tell you, and I say this respectfully, like most people are focused on following their schedule or their plan, which has merit, for sure has merit, but they'll never follow their intuition. How many people do we all know that are right on time to everything, do everything on their to-do list, do everything on their checklist?
Right.
They do it all right. I showed up on time. I did the deal. I made the call. I made 100 calls today. I did it. And for whatever reason, their life is just...
Can I give you the reason?
A limited on-schedule thing versus this disproportionate pop of energy.
Can I give you the reason?
Please do.
This is my philosophy.
Let's go. The exclusive, the Zen Heart exclusive, folks.
My big philosophy on life, like when you zoom out on how this whole thing works, right?
Yes.
Because like you said, there's the people that do everything right, but nothing ever works for them.
Yes.
And then there's the people that seemingly do everything wrong and they get everything.
Yes.
And it's like, why is that?
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you why I think it is.
Okay.
And this is something I've been going down the rabbit hole for a long time on.
Is this as one of the guys who feels like he shouldn't have gotten it all?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, many times.
Many
times.
And I love that you say this real quick, and I don't want to interject, but I just want to add to the value, because I want to add to the weight of what you're about to say, because you're somebody who, I know a lot of people in the space, and one of the things I've always respected about you is you're one of the most successful dudes I know, in our age group, relatively speaking. Since coming to Palm Beach, the levels are crazy.
Crazy levels, yeah.
Crazy levels. But you're one of the few guys who, as successful as you are, other guys talk about tactics and marketing and our conversations are always about energy.
Yeah.
Always about energy. So I just want to just add the weight of not only your success has been done because of your hard work, but just the weight of it. So go ahead.
No,
just so the audience knows that.
I appreciate the setting me up for people to listen more. That's great. I appreciate that.
No pressure.
My whole kind of way of living is that, when you think about it, we live in a universe of unlimited possibilities, right?
Yes.
It's an infinite universe, meaning there's infinite things that could happen. Yeah. There's infinite thoughts, infinite actions, infinite things that could happen at any moment. Right. Crazy example, like the fire alarm can go off right now, and the podcast could be canceled, and we can go meet someone outside. That's like anything could happen at any moment, right?
Yes.
And so the people that are so planned and so scheduled, they have this version of how things need to happen, right? I'm going to set my schedule. I'm going to talk to this person. This person's going to invest in my company. When he does that, I'm going to open this door. When that door gets opened, eventually this is going to happen. And they have this whole plan, and they stick to the plan. But if we have unlimited possibilities, if you do the math, what's anything over infinity is zero.
Zero,
right? That's the math. So your odds of knowing how something's going to happen is zero. And so the other side of the philosophy is that your energy in the moment creates the life around you, right? So when you have expectations of how something should happen, and it doesn't happen the way you expect it to, which it never does because there's infinite possibilities of how things can happen, it creates feelings of separation from what you think should have happened, or fear. Oh, this didn't happen, I'm scared. Or scarcity, or whatever the negative emotion is from being attached to something that doesn't happen that way. And then what does that do? That creates a different energy in the moment, which is the fear, whatever you feel. And if your energy in the moment creates the life around you, it's a compounding effect. You feel the fear, now something bad happens, or something that not what you want to happen ends up happening.
Yeah.
The people who let go, who maybe they have a vision, right?
Yes.
And they may have a plan, but they're not attached to the plan. That's kind of how I try to live at this point. I try to change my energy, and I have a vision, but I'm not attached to the micro outcomes. If something bad happens, I remind myself, like, okay, that's probably what should have happened, and I try to keep my energy a certain way. If you can keep your energy, love, abundance, excitement, just
grateful,
just good, and you can let go of the outcomes, like exactly what happened to you. Something incredible will happen in a way that's totally unexpected.
Yes.
So it's counterintuitive to what society teaches.
Yes, and a good metaphor to that point, and it's also something to your credit that you shared with me. I know I tell you all the time, but like ride the wave, don't fight the current.
That's exactly it.
It's funny. I ask a bunch of people for business advice. They all give me tactical stuff. Every time I ask you for stuff, it's like a mythical quote or something. But that one has been so true and resonated with me. I was just in Hawaii a couple months ago, and I learned how to surf for the first time, and I got addicted. I went the first day on a whim, tried it. I spent the next 3 days, all day, every day. I hired a trainer, like a surf trainer, just stay with me in the water for hours, and just learned it over and over and over. Did like rode hundreds of waves, and finally figured it out. And I realized, like it's kind of like when you ride a wave, or like I grew up skateboarding, right? I did that for a decade plus. Shout out to Gustavo Felipe, who I did it with, who's on set here, but. We grew up skating, and so one of the things you learn in skateboarding, similar to surfing, is like when you ride a wave, like instead of just hearing that theoretically, oh, ride the wave, like go with the flow, don't fight the current. But part of riding the wave is finding the wave, seeing the opportunity, going, should I take it or should I not, right? And then not knowing, but still having to make a decision on it anyways.
Yep.
And then when you do it, you got to commit fully. And if you wipe out, you wipe out. But even when you successfully ride a wave, and this is where I learned a ton, is part of successfully riding the wave is when you push off on the surfboard, there's a lot of like fear, friction, wave, the pressure. Oh, am I going to eat shit? Is the water going to, right?
Yeah.
And so with the resistance, you have to stay centered and do it, feel the fear and do it anyways, right? There's a great book by Dr. Susan Jeffers called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyways. I love that book.
Ooh.
But so you push off on a surfboard, and when I push off and you ride it, it's super like shaky, imbalanced. It's weird, but just ride the wave. Stay calm. Stay calm.
Yeah.
There's turbulence and, a lawsuit or a friction or a client, or is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? Or if the deal falls out of escrow or whatever it is. And if you just stay calm and you ride the wave, sooner or later, the waves get easier.
Yeah.
But when you're learning how to surf and it's your first time, as soon as it's turbulence, you're like, oh, screw it, let me jump off.
Yeah, but the person watching the surfer, they just see a guy who's just coasting on the wave. It looks easy.
How did he become so successful?
So, but then when they go ride the wave and they feel those feelings, they jump off.
Yes.
So it was not as easy as that guy. It was easy for that guy, but it's not easy for me. I can't do it.
Yeah, easy for him to make $100 million. His wave was different.
Yeah.
but we're all waves in the same ocean.
Yeah.
We're all made from the same skin, blood, vessels.
What are we actually made of? We're made of nothing.
Dude,
If you zoom in, right, we're cells, molecules, atoms. What are atoms? They're 99.9. There's 6 nines. 99.99999% empty space.
Yes.
And then there's protons, neutrons, and electrons. So we're nothing except for energy.
100%. And the thing I geek out on about that too is like I often think like it's so funny because I've always been into like leveling my life up because I grew up in an environment that was very limited in many a context. I'll spare you the details, but coming from that, it's a game. It doesn't make any sense to like all these crazy things experience and do. And one of the things I will say, just to speak to your point about the energy, is that it's almost like a prerequisite to you having those amazing things happen is relaxing and assuming they will.
Yeah.
And that's hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah.
But the strongest need in the human psyche is the need to remain consistent with who we believe we are, right? The strongest need in the human psyche is the need to remain consistent with who we believe we are. So your beliefs about who you are what you end up living.
Yeah.
Right? So if you believe you're awesome and your relationship ends, you'll be like, okay, well, I'm glad I learned something. Let me go find something that is even better and let me better my life. Whereas if you believe you're not that great and the relationship ends, you go, damn, even that didn't work out. And then you can spiral the other way. Same experience, but just because of how you're internally wiring, you end up at a totally different direction.
That makes total sense. But for someone listening, they're like, all right, well, I believe something. How do I change it?
Right.
How would you say that you change your beliefs?
Radical emotional experiences.
What does that mean?
Radical emotional experiences. Kind of like you said, prove your beliefs otherwise, right? One example I had is I got into real estate in 2015 or 2016. So a little bit of backstory. My whole life, I'll give you the 90-second version, and it's relevant. So when I was a kid, I always wanted to live my dream. Like since I was a kid, my parents were like, what do you want to do? And I used to be like, I want to get paid to play, straight up. Like I wanted to be an actor, and I actually was in commercials. I did Nickelodeon commercials with Justin Bieber and Shaq. And then
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did a Lifetime movie. I did a Warner Brothers movie. I don't really talk about it much, but I got to take my parents like premieres on the Warner Brothers lot.
Wow.
So I like tasted that dream. And then I wanted to be a pro soccer player, and then I excelled in that. And then once I found skateboarding in my teens, I fell in love. I was like, what's that? Like I saw a dude learn how to kickflip, like that was my age. And from then on, for the next 15 years, I gave my life fully to skateboarding. And then I got to travel and I got hooked up and I got to work with Rob Dyrdek and all these things. But I found myself never turning pro in the end of it in my early 20s, super depressed that I missed that dream. So I swore to myself on the next round of opportunity I wasn't going to miss it. And I know that's long-winded, but it's important to have that context because you got to understand there's a lot of like brewing desire unmet, right? Blueprint that wasn't matched. And I see all my friends starting to be successful, and this guy made $1 million and this guy made this and that, and my someone's driving across the country making $50,000 a day, and I'm hearing all this shit and I'm just like, man, how do I tap into the energy of that? I'm working my ass off, I'm trying. And so I get into door-to-door sales, and then I go work at Tesla, and I'm trying all these things, and that's where I ended up getting into Tony. But I'm just bringing that up because I was so logical about a lot of it, and my logic always led to disappointment throughout my life and career. And when I started to let go and just follow the inspiration, right? Like when I started my show, dude, I started it. You know the story. I live in California. Grant and his wife Elena were in Miami. I saw, similar to Elliot, right? Shout out Elliot. I saw that they were in town on their Instagram. So I drove 3.5 hours to Beverly Hills, waited outside the restaurant respectfully, and when he got out, pitched him to be on the podcast. Yeah. That's an intuition and whisper telling me that.
Yeah. And your logical mind and fear it was chirping in the background like crazy. You shouldn't do this. What are you doing? You're going to lose.
Jared, I had no gas money. I shit you not. I had no gas money to get there, bro. I borrowed gas money to fill up my car to drive there. I couldn't afford valet parking in Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
It's like $50,
Yeah.
So at that time, it was $1 million. So I like park all far. I walk. I'm all sweaty. I'm not dressed. I just saw on his Instagram story that Grant was doing an Instagram story, and Elena in the background was like, hey, Grant, are we still going to this spot in Beverly Hills, whatever, at 8 o'clock? And he's like, yeah, babe, yeah. And then he like continues with the video. But I took that clue, and that's what made me go to the restaurant. And that right there, that interview ended up getting like 500,000 downloads, and it was the most watched and interviewed thing in the world. And then I did an affiliate deal with them, and then they introduced me to Milet. And then I started doing all these interviews, and they start popping off and getting millions of views, and I'm like, what? How did I spend 15 years of my life trying to have success and do what I love, and then in 15 months of inspiration, my life and finances and networking totally transformed.
Yeah. I think on that token, a point I want to bring up is like when bad things happen, people get attached to them, and you shouldn't be attached to them, right?
Right.
But it's also the same thing on the other hand. When good things happen, you also need to let go.
Yes.
Because people are waiting for this big break, and something happens, they overreact, and they get. And I used to do this all the time, and I still do it, but I'm more aware of it now.
Yes.
It's being centered, right? So even when something really like for example, this thing with Tony.
Yes.
Right now, you're very excited about it.
Oh yeah.
And you should be.
Yes.
And you should enjoy it.
Yes.
But when people get too attached to something good, then it also gives them an opportunity to be knocked off that wave.
Yes.
It's you have to let go no matter what and remain centered.
Yes.
And it's like what you said earlier, which is we look outward for all these answers where we can learn these things inward at a much deeper level. We're looking at another point, kind of a
deviation.
Slight deviation. Great word. Thank you for that. When you go to these masterminds or these events, people are learning tactics, right? And they're not learning energy, they're learning tactics. Why is it that 95+% of them are not successful? There are the people that are successful, but they learn the energy stuff. Mm-hmm. Everyone is a creation based on the things they experience, and most of what we experience is media, social media. We're consuming it all the time, and so we think we need to do certain things to get certain places. We need to do this. We need to learn how to run ads. We need to do these. We need to learn how to build this business, and we neglect the thing that we have right here, right now, and that thing is the most important thing. And your story earlier is just a prime example of that.
The present moment. One of the things, and we've talked about this before, is the power of that. Like, no matter your baggage in the past, no matter the stress, anxiety, where you're at financially, professionally, all these judgments in your head, your relationship, your whole life can change in this moment by a new decision, a new distinction, a new thing. And most people never want to quite make that. Understandably so, because it's scary, right? The devil is better than the devil you don't, right? People rather suffer with what they know than succeed at something they don't.
Yeah.
Theoretically, they'll tell you that.
It's a good one.
But they won't do that, right? Most people live, I heard this great quote, it said, most people live somewhere between not happy, but not unhappy enough to change.
That's
Does that make sense?
To be.
Like, I'm not fully happy, but I'm not so unhappy that I'm willing to do something radically different.
You're not at rock bottom, but you're just above it.
Right. So you spend 10 years in it only to self-sabotage at some level until you're in rock bottom.
Yeah.
That's why some people need rock bottom to finally.
So people self-sabotage because they're scared of what the change can be.
Yes. And they assume the worst.
Yeah.
To your point about also, and I love that you say that, because me and Gus were talking this morning about it. I'm so high off this Tony thing, and I was with Trump earlier and all this stuff, and just this momentum of the week and great energy and meeting amazing people. And it's like this morning, I was meditating and praying on this, and I was like, as great as it is, always have to understand that the wave will even out, right? Yep. Dr. John DeMartini talks about this concept that the addiction to elation attracts tragedy.
Explain that.
The addiction to elation attracts tragedy. When you're addicted to level 10 experiences, you have to have them to feel good about yourself, right? And so now when you're low, you want to get high. And then so maybe you get into toxic relationships, or you drink, or you do drugs, or you self-sabotage. To
get that elation.
Yeah, to subconsciously create that elation so the stakes are high.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
And I think coming from a background in skateboarding, that was always the thing. Because, when you're jumping down a 10 stair, you're grinding a rail or jumping down a 10 stair, you like convince yourself of things that are not even true just to like push it, right? Like, oh, like I'm a wuss if I don't land this right now. Here we go, guys.
Yeah.
Swear to God, I'm going to commit, right? So you have to like delude yourself, because logically there's nothing in your brain goes, yeah, I think you should jump off a 10 stair and flip your board and try to land on it. Like, logic is fighting you at every level of that. But yeah, dude, it's what's on the other side of that is unfucking believable.
It's it's just remaining centered no matter what. When the bad things happen, when the good things happen. But when good things happen, they could compound on themselves. I think most people get a taste of something and they just they attach themselves to it, and then they fall right back off.
Or they milk the whole thing too quick.
Yeah, exactly.
They milk the whole thing too quick. Slow and steady,
Yes.
slow and steady, slow and steady. And that is, I saw Robert De Niro. He has this clip where he goes, they asked him, what's the biggest thing you learned in your career? And he's like, when I was starting out in acting, I would make no money. And when I would get a role, I would get so excited. And then later in my career, I was getting 20 million a movie, 30 million a movie. Like I was making all this, and I used to be like over the moon, like, oh my God, I'm getting 20 million a movie, and like telling my family and buying houses. And he goes, the problem with that is the second you get addicted to that, and now the next movie they're only paying you 5 million, and now you're like, what the hell? Does my value go down? And now ego's involved, and now you get into this weird trap, and now everyone is attached to your identity. And how do I look to the people that I? And so you can create these artificial worlds of expectation around you instead of just appreciating the fact that you're doing what you love.
And what that does, and I was thinking about it, I was trying to figure out, because I know that you should stay centered, whether it's good or bad, and I'm trying to think about why. And
It's more
I realized,
sustainable.
If you're on either side of the coin, you're not centered, you lose touch with your intuition. Your mind starts feeding.
Because your intuition requires balance to hear.
Yes,
I
you
can
need
see
to
that.
be centered. Your mind needs to be quiet in order to feel the intuition. And when you're on a high, your mind is just consistently thinking about it, coming up with things.
Yeah.
And you lose touch with that intuition, which will give you the next step. And
Yes.
you can't find the next step because you're so caught up in your mind.
Yes.
There's different spiritual practices and
Sure.
books and yogis and things that talk about what we are, but I think it boils down to we are our mind and we are our soul.
Yes.
And you could say it's our mind or our ego, or you could say it's our soul, or it's our intuition, or it's our part of us that's God, whatever it may be. But I really look at it as there's two parts of us.
Yeah.
And I think society makes it so that it's really hard to find the soul or the intuition, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
And it makes it really easy for the mind to take control. I think like what I've learned is that people spend 99% of their time in their minds, and occasionally they get that little bit of intuition. But the people that are creating lives of abundant love and joy and create and being, there's people that are just magnetic that you just want to be around.
Yes.
Those are the people that are living more in their soul and their intuition.
Yes.
And in order to do that, you have to learn to let go.
Yes.
But letting go is hard.
Yes.
Another word for letting go is surrendering.
Yes.
And surrendering has a societal tie to weakness, right? I surrender, I'm weak.
Especially as a masculine male.
Correct.
Right? Like I'm in control.
But I think surrendering is the ultimate form of strength. Funny, I'm good friends with Liver King.
Yes.
And when I was at his ranch, we were talking about this, and I was talking about letting go and surrendering.
Yeah.
And he's like, you can't let go and surrender. You have to fight through. And we had this debate about it. We were talking about this for like an hour. And then we went and had this experience. It was like a cool place we went to. And he realized.
Did you eat testicles?
I did eat testicles, yeah.
What else does Liver King actually eat? Like seeing it in person, is this guy fully eating raw meat?
Not
bone marrow.
I mean, he is eating a little bit of that stuff with every meal for the nutritional value, but he's also eating. He's got Chef Lionel that's making the ribs, the steaks, they grow all their vegetables on their farm, and they're eating vegetables, and he's changed a lot in his diet.
Very cool.
But of course, I'm going to partake. So he's eating a little jar. I'm like, what is that? He's like, it's testicles. You want some? I'm like, fuck yeah, I want some. We put some chimichurri sauce on them. They taste great.
What'd they taste like texture-wise?
They taste like oysters.
Ah, okay.
That's why they call them Rocky Mountain oysters. But he had the realization that surrender is strength, but it took a while to realize it. And when he came to me and said that, I was like, all right, if he understands this, then I think I'm on the right path about that.
And I also want to add one of the things, and it's a distinction that kind of came to me, is like you have to leave room for magic. Like imagine you have a plan. Okay, I want to build this company and I want to make $10 million doing it, and I want to do this, and like, okay, I'm going to hire this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to show up at 6, I'm going to leave at 5, I'm going to say no to every invitation, I'm going to not say, right? Like you just, right?
Yeah.
The illusion of discipline, you do the hot tub or the cold plunge at 3 a.m., whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's fine, nothing wrong with that. But if you don't leave room for magic to take the flight, go up to the person, make the call, send the email, shoot the thing, that's where the disproportionate, that's where God bless it. You're literally God. Nowhere in your schedule did you write down God blessing me 3 to 4 p.m. on Saturday.
Yeah.
And so, how do you expect magic to show up in your life if you're not open to it?
It's so true,
and
bro.
and I think, and of course, there's a balance to it, right? You can't just wake up and be like, oh, let's just wing the whole thing. I think to a degree you can if you have. You had an argument there.
I think you can.
I love that.
I've been experimenting with life like that for the last couple of years.
Well, when somebody who built a 9-figure company says that, it's worth a consideration, folks. but no, I agree because, like, dude, you couldn't plan or calculate that. Like I'm sure in your life too, like an opportunity or a client or whatever it is, you would have never met if it didn't just, God had to whisper it to you. And also who you're being attracts things, right? I think Jim Rohn talks about this concept. Success is not something you pursue. What you pursue will elude you. Success is something that you attract by the person that you become. Even magnets, right? Like think of a magnet, right? The people who have the most in the world where just things come to them, flow to them, right? Correct. Like look at Tony. We go to the restaurant, people want to pay, right? Like
magnetic.
Right, magnetic, right?
Yeah.
People are so the question is, how do you get your dreams and goals? It's one thing to pursue, but I think the true goal is to have things come to you. Right? When you think of Kobe Bryant, when you think of as a skateboarder, shout out Paul Rodriguez, P-Rod, he's a professional skateboarder, a good friend of mine. I've had him on the podcast. He's the first skateboarder in history to get 10 signature shoes on Nike. But when you look at a Kobe or all these guys, do you think when they were kids and they were coming up, they were hitting up Nike trying to get into? No, Nike came to them.
Yeah, they became magnetic.
And so it's a totally different mind shift. Like imagine instead of like, I want to get this client, my dream is to sell this client their real estate. My dream is to, close this deal or collaborate. But imagine a universe, just entertain the possibility of them coming to you. Entertain the possibility of Tony Robbins across the restaurant saying, hey, come here, right? And who would you have to become in order to, at whatever level, attract that? I might sound nuts, but there is an answer to that. There's infinite possibilities of combinations of actions from this exact moment, right here, right now. No matter your finances, your age, your relationship, your emotional state, right now, exists a path between you and a surreal experience of life. The difference is if you listen to the whispers.
Yeah.
And
well,
most people
you
never
make
do.
room for the whispers. Intentionally make room in a very, very noisy world.
Yes.
It's hard to make room for the whispers when things are pulling you away from them all the time.
And when you spend most of your time looking outside. I'll tell you one thing that tripped me out. This is what made me a lifelong meditator. I was meditating one time and I had this distinction. And I said, I thought about it. I'm like, how come every time I meditate, downloads come to me? This morning I was meditating and I literally got a download that said, cancel your trip to Dallas, right? And in my head, I'm like, no, but this and that. And like, this is an important thing and and all that. And in spite of that, my intuition was like, yeah, all valid points, but still stay in the energy.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right. So I canceled the flight. And, that's just one practical example. But the truth is that most people, this is what made me a lifelong meditator. Most people spend their whole life looking outside. Mm-hmm. Let me go to the seminar. Let me go here. Let me call this person. Let me try this. Let me cold call. Let me prospect. Let me get this. Let me brainstorm. Let me go here. Let me go here. All great actions, right?
Yeah.
But we look outside for the keys to success, right? How many times do we close our eyes and look inside?
Most people
never. Right? And so we seek outside what is inside.
Yeah.
And people will be like, oh my God, I can't meditate for 20 minutes. They'll spend 20 years looking outside, calling, doing it. How many times do you close your eyes and turn your eyeballs inward? Go, what do I really want? Who am I really? What would really light my life up? What would really just like blow my mind? What kind of relationship do I want? What kind of finances do I want?
Well, I think that's the same thing that I'm saying with, the mind versus the soul, right? You're spending all the time in the mind or you're being driven by either your mind or your soul. But the actions you're taking are either being driven by the thoughts you have or through the feeling of intuition. Mm-hmm. And if you're spending all your time out here, you're not letting your intuition drive you that way. The problem is that for people like you and I who have experienced this already, we've gotten validation that, okay, yeah, that worked.
Yeah,
cool.
Exactly.
Next time I'm a little more encouraged to do it.
Yeah.
For people who are just getting started, they're like, yeah, I hear those guys, but the mind still has total control.
There's no mental reference of it being true. Yeah.
So you the validation helps.
Yeah.
But if you stick down that path and you listen to your intuition for long enough, you're going to have something that happens that the next time you want to listen to your intuition, it convinces you to do so because of that previous validation.
And on a practical level, to your point, the one thing I always tell people is there's this quote by Einstein. I know I'm dropping everybody's lines, but there's this concept I live my life by, dude. And that is that Einstein said there's two ways to live your life. One is as if nothing is a miracle. The other is as if everything is a miracle. Right? Hear me on that. No big deal. And that's always one thing that when I aspire to be successful and do these things and live my dreams, I would see these guys that are like cool guy, tough guy, like, no. And one of the things I love about Tony or any of these other guys, they're like, yeah, dude, I can't even fucking believe it either. Dude, I don't even know. I don't even know what 100 million look like. I have no idea how the universe would give it to me. I'm just tap dancing at seminars and doing what I love. And all of a sudden the universe just gave me everything up beyond what I even dreamed of. Right. Or Kobe, I'm just shooting hoops because I love it. And we're like, here's a $100 million lifetime Nike contract. And so the universe actually rewards people living in their energy more than anything.
100%. I mean, there's no way there's no chance that Tony Robbins sat there and said, this is the most safe life path to take. I'm going to start doing these things. It was a consistent stream of intuition that was guiding him. Another challenge that people face is identifying the difference between intuition and impulse. So like, for example, if you have things to do and your mind is like, we're not going to do it. We're going to procrastinate. That's an impulse, right? So it's like you still need to do the things you need to do, but when you don't want to do something, like let's say Kobe, for example, he practices every morning. He has that discipline or had that discipline, right? There was probably parts of his mind that were like, oh, we should sleep in, whatever, and he overcame those things. Sometimes your intuition is telling you to do something else. And it's identifying the difference between which one of those things are your intuition and which one of them are your impulsive mind that's telling you to procrastinate. Yeah. Because it gets to be a blurry line.
Sure. Especially when you're new to it and you don't even know one or the other. One of the things that helps me with that is I think of it like a compass, right? Like a compass. It always knows north, south, east, west. But you have to know where you want to go.
Right.
Right? So there's a nuance there. It knows where you are. But if you don't know where you want to go, you don't know where you are in space. And so how do you do it? You have to calibrate the compass because the compass can get messed up too. So the question is, how do you calibrate, right? And calibration to me is about looking inside, right? And whether it's a walk, meditation, whatever. But I feel the bottom line is the same way you can hear your outer voice. People would say, well, how do I listen to my inner voice? How do I talk to, listen to the intuition? How do you talk outwardly? You just make sounds and try.
Yeah.
Intuition's the same thing. Close your eyes and just say, hey, intuition, like, what should I listen to? You ask your mind a question, it'll give you an answer. If I say, Jared, what color are your socks? Or, we have some friends in the audience. If I say, hey guys, as crazy as it sounds, what color are your underwear? What color are your socks? You don't have to answer it out loud, but I guarantee you every single one of us just answered the question, right?
Yeah, I just did.
You ask your brain a question, it'll give you an answer whether you like it or not.
Right.
So if you say like, how can I expect a miracle today? How can I make something amazing happen? How could I turn my life around? What's good about this? What's the opportunity here? Your brain will give you those answers. How can I listen to my intuition more? Just try. And on a practical level, the one thing you had a great question about, for people who have never had the experience, step one is go out there and expect a miracle today. Literally, just set the intention. Hey, today I'm going to go out into the world and I'm just going to set the intention. Something amazing is going to happen today that'll change my finances.
Yeah.
That'll change my network. That'll whatever. And watch what happens. Just relax into it and listen. Set that intention on your compass and enjoy the show.
Let go.
And I guarantee you your day will be very different than yesterday when you were on schedule for everything.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people need to remove things from their lives to be able to get to that point. Like
addition by subtraction.
Yeah, most people in this life, unfortunately, and especially with the younger generation, they wake up and they look at their phones. And their phone is a cesspool of possible energetic patterns that they, maybe they open up Twitter and they see a video about war and now they're thinking about war or fear. Or they see someone's life and they're like, oh, I wish I had that guy's life. And all their energy goes outwards. And it becomes addictive to the mind because the mind's getting dopamine. I want more of it. And then when they try to not do it, their mind's craving dopamine, so it's hard to hear that inner voice.
And it feels the gap between your current reality, which sucks as you feel it, and then what's going on there.
Yeah, but it takes some time to detox and get your mind off of those things that give you the dopamine to be able to listen inward.
Yes.
Like I don't have social media on my phone right now. I go through times where I do and then when I don't, but for the last 2 to 3 months, I haven't had Instagram on my phone. I have a YouTube because of occasionally I'll look something up on there, and for me it's not as unhealthy.
Right.
But you'd be surprised how freeing it is to not have social media on your phone.
And how much more time and bandwidth and energy.
How much more presence you get.
It's so funny, man. Fun fact. So the iPhone came out and everyone had it 2012, 2013. I didn't have a smartphone until 2016.
Oh yeah.
Intentionally. I would buy iPhones and then flip them. I would buy them and sell them and make money. But I had a flip phone.
Yeah.
And everyone used to laugh at it. But I was always, from all my friends, the one killing it.
Yeah.
I was killing it.
Richard Branson doesn't use any devices.
Even I interviewed, we were talking about it yesterday, billionaire John Paul DeJoria, who had $2 billion companies. he was like taking down info and he was like texting it. He has a little flip phone from Target that was $29.99.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't want to ding, and they're like, I work hard so that I can have free time with my family and my loved one. I don't want to be scrolling and texting.
And I'm curious actually what your take is on this, because you've interviewed a lot of people. Like we'll use Grant Cardone for example. Right. A lot of the message that he sends is you need to work 12 hours a day, grind. The Gary V's, you got to work your ass off.
Right.
And to me, that's counterintuitive to tapping into your intuition and being guided.
Right.
What's your take on, like, do you think people like that just naturally are guided and they don't realize it, or do you think that their message is wrong, or what do you think?
I think space and time horizons disappear when you're aligned. Period. And the degree to which that message either confuses you or inspires you, if you're listening to this, is such that again, I'll go back to the reference of skateboarding. Growing up, I literally, no exaggeration, skated for like 8 to 10 hours a day. It required zero discipline. I wanted to. I was pulled to do it. I was compelled to do it. And I find that it's very hard for somebody who's pushing themselves to do something to beat a guy who's pulled to do it. Elon Musk is not a guy that goes, dang it, I don't want to go to Mars. I don't want to build Tesla. I don't want to do this, but I'm going to discipline myself and wake up at 4 a.m. and make sure I'm on schedule and make sure I'm on time. And I'm pulled by the vision.
He's on his
I'm pulled.
true path.
I'm compelled by the fucking thing, right?
Yeah.
And so I think, to me, maybe it's the artist in me, but to me, a life where you're compelled by what you're doing, no matter how romantic or passionate or epic it sounds, to me, that's a life I want to live, not something that I logically executed on schedule and then died right on time. And then, like, to me, life is an adventure.
But I think the counterintuitive part is that a lot of people listening to that message are not on their truest path. They're not doing the thing they're being pulled to. And now they're listening to, just need to work harder at this thing that's beating them down, as opposed to let go, find the path, and then naturally you'll work way harder.
Well, start at the end, right? So, like, one of the things, and I learned this when I worked with Rob Dyrdek at the Fantasy Factory, and it's just one perspective, is, and I learned this from him. It was amazing. I got to work at the Fantasy Factory. I got to be on the last season of the MTV show. So I got a first-hand ticket to work with Rob, intern with them, and see the whole thing, right? And for people who don't know, is like he's had the #1 show on MTV for like a decade plus. And I got to see behind the scenes how he worked. And he only ever gave me one piece of advice, and his advice was start at the end. So he's like, what do you want? So I'm like, all right, I want to live in a $25 million house on the water. I want to have a skate park on the side of the house. I want to have a beautiful wife. I want to have great kids. When I die, I want to go to heaven with them and be totally present with my kid. To do that at total level of comfort, I'd probably need $100 million, right? It sounds nuts, right? To my mind, like, I didn't even have $100 for gas when I wrote that goal down. So, like, as crazy as it sounds, that was always the, like, thing in my mind. Wife, kids, live on the water, have a skate park on the side of the house, and make so much money that I could be present with the kids. Right? So everything else, the business and like discipline, time, as long as I end up there and have a good time, I'm okay if I'm late to the thing. I'm okay if I didn't have that at the end though, and I was just focused on like, how do I maximize revenue this month? And how do I, even if you get it, I'm sure you've been there, right? You get it, you get the money, you get the car, you get the thing, and you're like, what now?
Yeah.
But when you have a vision, you're pulled by things. And I think most people never have a vision that's compelling. I think they did when they were kids, but like you said, they forget.
Yeah.
They forget. When you're a kid, no one on earth is going to tell me a kid doesn't listen to their intuition.
Right.
I want candy. I want to go here. I want to hang out with Billy. I want to hang out with Anna. I want to go to this place. I want to eat gummy bear. Even if it's misdirected, so to speak, you don't have these little kids who go like, "Hey mom, what's my passion? Like what should I do?" No. You try eating gummy bears. You try eating Oreos. You try playing baseball. You like this girl, so you're like mean to her and provoke her, and you realize, okay, cool. Women work a little differently than us, right? And then you like interact and try things, and then by then you develop a refinement. I saw a study that said that more people try more new activities between the ages of 5 and 10 than they do between 10 and 50.
Wow, that's crazy.
Right? When you're a kid, you'll try, but by the time you're 12, you've tried baseball, soccer, basketball, hockey, running, this, skating, da. But then you turn 20 and you're like, well, I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'll go snowboarding once a year on Christmas.
Yeah.
So you lose that enthusiasm, and you can ignore the facts, but you can't ignore the consequences of ignoring the facts. If you're not living by something that pulls you, by definition, your whole life is just going to be pushing yourself to these artificial stimulus from the outside.
I think there's a deeper layer to starting with the end in mind, which is I think the end is convoluted for people that can't find that high energy state. For example, someone who's sitting around playing video games all day, scrolling on their phones, eating unhealthy foods, they're consuming other people's lives. They have this end in mind, but maybe it's not really what their end should be. It's not their true end. It's just something that's artificial based on the things they're taking in and in a low energy state. Or that person might say, I don't really know what I want. And I think that the more important thing is, if you can change from that low energy state to, get off your phone, get outside, breathe, meditate, whatever it may be.
Connect with yourself more, yeah.
Go for a run, put on good music, and then think about what you want. That's truly what you want.
I was just talking with Gus about this yesterday, is the emotional state you think about things in is so important.
So important.
Because if you're going to, it sounds
nuts. It's the flavor of life.
Yeah, it's the flavor of life, and it's the flavor of that moment, and it has ripple effects in perpetuity. So I was telling Gus, this morning I was thinking about some of my challenges, and I got into a low frequency state, and I was like, I caught myself. I'm like, we're not going to talk. So I literally, on some Tony Robbins shit, I was like, boom, yes, all right, cool. What are the things I'm worried about? And all of a sudden, new ideas were available.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, because of 11 seconds of an action. Now, you don't have to do that per se, but like you said, a walk or whatever it is, all that matters is that you produce the result. The method is up to the individual, right?
Yeah.
That's the art of life.
Right.
But one thing that I will say too, is to speak to that, there's this metaphor and analogy I love. And I'm so grateful to God that I remembered it on the pod. And I hope people enjoy this because this made a shift for me. Is, let's say there's two people, right? Let's say there's a parallel universe, and there's a guy with his wife in house 1, and there's a guy with his wife in house 2. And guy in house 1's wife.
Same guy or different guy?
It's a parallel universe of the same guy and his wife,
gotcha.
right?
Yeah, I just want to clarify.
Parallel universe. Good distinction. And let's say on the first house, the wife goes, hey, honey, I'm going to be gone for a couple hours. Can you just vacuum the house, right? And he goes, yeah, babe, sure, no problem, right? Guy 2, same situation, right? Parallel universe. The wife says, hey, honey, I'm going to be gone for a couple hours. Can you vacuum and clean the house? He goes, okay, honey. Both wives leave in the parallel universe, same guy. Guy 1 vacuums the whole house, right? He's vacuuming. He's just up and down. Like, I'm going to do a good job. My wife's going to be happy. And just vacuuming the whole thing. Just got the vacuum. Every inch of that place was vacuumed up, down, left, right. Guy 2, parallel universe, same thing. Does the exact same thing, right? So does the exact same thing. Both wives come home. Same parallel experience, right? Wife 1 comes in, and the house is spotless. Perfect. It's clean. It's vacuumed. Everything's perfect, right? Done. This guy did a great job vacuuming every inch of the floor. House 2, wife comes home, and they get in a big fight, right? And she's like, what the heck? And he's like, no, I vacuumed the whole thing. And she's like, what are you talking about? This is a mess. All this stuff. And she's like, well, how is it not clean? And he goes, well, I vacuumed the whole thing. I don't understand. And she goes to the wall, and she sees that the cord was never plugged in. You see what I'm saying? The metaphor here is that most people will try to do the work, but they never plugged into their power to begin with.
Ooh, that's a good one.
So I did the stuff. I showed up to the meeting. I showed up to the thing. But you didn't plug into your power first when you did it. And so the universe doesn't care how long you vacuum. You didn't plug in first. Step 1 is plug into the energy. Best case scenario. Same guy, same universe, same wife, same time. Everything was the same. There's one 11-second action difference that one did up front that the other didn't. He plugged into the power. Because of that, he has a peaceful night with his wife. The other guy's living through hell. And he both did the exact same work. One plugged in and one didn't.
And how does one plug in?
Well, that's
in real life.
Well, that people already have plugged in, right? If you want to know what works, study what's already working. Every single person listening to this right now, if you're hearing this and you're like, well, this stuff's great, but how do I apply it to my life? I will bet you, first of all, ask yourself, if I did know, what would I say, right? From Tony Robbins, like, I don't know what to do. Well, if you did know, what would you want, right?
Yeah.
Start there, number 1. And trust yourself. Don't take the barrier of, it has to be drop everybody's goals, drop whatever it is. Just for yourself. You can change it later, but just something to get you moving, number 1. Number 2 is just think about times in your life where you felt joy. So for me, one of the things I talk about is, I was telling Gus this, my buddy, I said, I'm frequently complimented on my communication skills on different podcasts and all this. And people go like, how are you such a good speaker? And to me, it's because I want to experience rich emotions. I can't feel phenomenal if I don't use the word phenomenal. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
How was dinner? Oh, it was good. Thanks.
Yeah.
Versus how was dinner? Oh, it was phenomenal. The company was great. The energy was amazing. All of a sudden, my energy feels amazing. I had the same dinner.
Yeah.
We both had the same dinner, but one plug in, right? So it could be that micro. It doesn't mean you have to be, kinesthetic on your delivery outlet. It could be internal. It could be inner conversation. That's just one extreme example, but don't assume you've never had it. If you want to be in great energy, go get around it, right? Proximity is power. You just, like people say, say we were in this room and then you're like, well, how do we plug in? Well, look at what's already plugged in. Just go to the energy source.
Yep.
What's already working in your life? Where's there already energy?
Yep.
Okay, maybe you don't like work, but do you like a colleague at work? Okay, go to the colleague at work, strike up a conversation. Do you like a restaurant's ambiance? Do you like, maybe you don't have money, but you want to one day be wealthy. Go to a wealthy hotel that's free. Work out of the lobby.
Yep.
The energy's there. But you got to, nobody walks around in this room and goes, oh, how do I plug it in?
Yeah.
Go to where the energy already is.
Yep.
And trust that, and the rest will reveal itself. Start with what you know and let the rest grow.
I love it. I want to go into another topic that I've been curious about, which is your interview with Andrew Tate.
Okay, let's do it.
So you went to Romania.
Yes, sir.
And this was, can you just tell the story of the situation?
Yes.
I remember there was prison involved, or jail, there was traveling to a compound. I wanted to hear that story because I never really fully heard it.
Dude, my life is crazy, which is funny because I'll tell the story, but fun fact is you're looking at a young man who took a very unconventional path in life. And I remember years ago, I was in my rock bottom situation, and with the last money I had, I hired a coach. Shout out Dave Thorpe. We sat down at a table, wrote a pen and paper. This relates to the Tate thing. And he said, I went through a breakup at that time. And he said, Omar, if life was perfect, what would happen next? Right? If life was perfect, what would happen next? And it was the first time in my life, because I think so many of us assume life is tough and bad
things are gonna happen.
You assume like, oh, it's an uphill battle. How am I gonna this?
Yeah.
How am I, And this was right when I was getting into real estate. I got my license in real estate as an agent. And he goes, if life was perfect, what would happen next, right? And I go, well, if life was perfect, I would sell the most expensive house in the area. I would interview legends. I would make millions of dollars. I would inspire millions of people, and I would surround myself with, amazing men and women. I would, at the time, my goal was to make $100,000 a month. To me, that was like a zillion at the time. So I was like, oh, I want to make $100,000 a month, have total free time, and be able to go to lunch with my girlfriend at noon on a Monday and have no anxiety.
Yeah.
And run into fans of the show and they want to take a photo. Right? That was my compelling, crazy dream. That happened. Right? Like fast forward years later, that happened. But when it was me writing a paper with my coach and having no money, I literally still have the paper, and I was in tears writing it. I still have dried watermarks on that page. I swear to God, I want to frame it in my house and show my kids one day, God willing. But I digress. So I wrote down that plan, and on it, he made me write down this manifesto for my life. And I wrote, I see myself inspiring millions of people. I see myself being questioned all the time about how I got interviews. I see myself being complimented on interviews. And I have never done an interview in my life, ever. Maybe for jobs that I didn't get hired for, right? Like this is not somebody who like has experience. This is just pure inspiration. So I write down this, and my goal was to fill my life with as many surreal experiences as humanly possible. That was my intention.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, you know this, right? A lot of people can make money. A lot of people can do this. Understandably so, very few people live this weird-ass life that I have lived.
Yeah.
That's been amazing. And so that's like the intention up front first. So once I set that intention, the journey was a series of things. And leading to Andrew Tate, I just thought to myself, like, all right, like if life was I always go back to, if life was perfect, what would happen at this seminar? If life was perfect, what would happen today? That's always my reference. Yesterday was an example of that. This week has been an example of that. So I just go, all right, if life was perfect, how would I interview Andrew Tate? Right? That's always my reference, even with Trump or Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
Like, if life was perfect, how would it happen? I didn't quite imagine Tony calling me over to the table, but hey, the universe had some room for magic. So with Tate, I had set the intention, but I'm like, how? Right? Everybody gets stuck on the how. And one of the things I've learned is this concept called who, not how. Right? Who, not how. The longest way to get to what you want is by trying to understand the how.
Right.
The shortest way is a who. So I was like, if life was perfect, a gatekeeper would flip the switch. Now, it so happens that switch had a price tag on it. But how it happened was nuts, because I initially had interviewed a few people. I set the intention for him. And then kind of months went by, and I was trying to figure it out. He's in a different country. He's in jail. He's being jailed by the Romanian government. He's, they have him on house arrest. He can't leave the country, so I'd have to go to Romania. Like, the whole thing is nuts, right? So I'll tell you the full story, which is wild. I haven't really told it before. So out of nowhere, bro, like straight out of a movie, talk about on-time magic, I get a DM from a guy who reached out to me when he was 17. Shout out Jeremy John Marie from Canada. I love you, Jeremy, and his team at Clickables is amazing. Appreciate you guys. They do thumbnails and stuff. Hit them up, clickables.co. Anyways, so at the time, Jeremy hit me up. He was like 15, 16. He was a fan of the show. He was a young man. He didn't have a lot of things going for him. And, at the time, I think I was charging like $1,000 an hour for consulting or whatever. But this was early in my consulting days. And so this guy reaches out, but he was like hungry, inspired. He's like, dude, I don't have the money, but I'll add value, whatever. I said, don't worry, I'll hop on a call with you. So I hop on a call with him, and he tells me all this stuff, his dreams, his goals, his ambitions. I end up doing a coaching call with him, and I never hear from him again till like years later. It's crazy how the universe, when you drop blessings, disproportionately later they pay you back when you're living in the energy. So I add value to him, whatever. He's like, dude, I'll never forget it. But I never asked for anything in return. Fast forward from that call, he ends up working with Tom Bilyeu. Mm-hmm. And I gave him strategies on how to. So he made a website, because my mentality is do whatever it takes, right? Yeah. My mentality is gun to my head, it has to happen. Yeah. Gun to my head, if I had to interview Tony Robbins. Gun to my head, if I had to interview Trump. Even if I have no experience, gun to my head, God said, Omar, you have to do it. You have 30 days to make it. What would I do? There's always an answer, right? Ask your brain a question, it'll give you an answer. You might not believe it or like it or be fearful, but it'll give you an answer. So crazy as it sounds, I had set the intention out of the sky. Jeremy went to work at Tom Bilyeu, has all these great connections with all the guests, and was basically like, who do you want? He hit me up out of the blue, said, hey, Omar, thank you so much. Because of your stuff, you helped add a lot of value. If there's anything I could do for you, let me know. And I'm like, funny you ask, right? Like, perfect time. So he's like, actually, Justin Waller, who's Andrew Tate's best friend, is actually in town in LA if you'd like to do an interview with him. And I'm like, no way. He's like, yeah. I'm like, when do you want to do it? He's like, you free tomorrow? So the guy comes to my house. Andrew Tate's best friend comes to my house, right? Like, talk about the magnet, right? Justin Waller comes to my house. We run a pod. Pod goes amazing, does really well. And then at the end, right, I'm like, hey, bro, big fan and da-da-da-da, like the stuff you talk about. By the way, would love to do a podcast with Tate. And I know that, people would never. And he's like, yeah, man, like no chance. Like, it's tough, but I appreciate you asking and all that. And I was like, yeah, man, well, we're happy to add value if there's any kind of, way we can add value and make it win-win. He's like, all right, I'll talk to him. Long story short, 24 hours later, he hits me up and, we negotiate a cool deal. And there I was a couple of weeks later, flying to Romania with my whole team. And the whole thing was a show. And
what was it like when you got there?
Surreal. So I took like 5-6 team members. We fly down to Romania. In my head, I'm like, how's this real life? Yeah. And we're communicating through a medium. Like, I never talked to him. Yeah. So in my head, I'm like, am I being scammed here? Like, is this
real?
This is real. And this is when Tate is hot on the news and fresh in jail. And I was actually the timing when I interviewed him was perfect. I know we talked about it. Literally, when we interviewed him, he got arrested like 2 days later and got thrown in Romanian jail again, and was like the number one trending thing in the world. And again, the universe, time. I'm a kid from Walnut, California, bro. I don't even know how to turn on a camera. Yeah. I have no business interviewing these people. How did this happen? That's a belief I could have, but I transcended that. And so we end up flying to Romania, get the whole team. We get this palatial suite. Turns out that's where Piers Morgan interviewed him. And we're wondering if he's going to show up.
Did he show up on time?
Tate showed up. They were there on time, but he came in a little bit later because his guards came in. So we did it at a swanky hotel in Romania, in Bucharest. We fly there and we're all tripping. Like, is this really happening? Like, is this real life right now? Like, what the? So we go there, and he gets there. And there's like 5 bodyguards. They're all armed and like, you're talking to Andrew Tate bodyguard. They're like ready to kill, right? So they walk in, they vet, we talk to him. I talk to his assistant. They scope the place out, like the whole thing. And then boom, in the door, Andrew Tate walks in. Just boom, just by himself, no security, walks in. Omar, pleasure to meet you. He listened to the podcast I did it with Patrick Bet-David, complimented me on that. Surreal to think about that, but I digress. So come in, shake his hand. It's crazy. We go into the room. He ordered 7 black coffees. I don't know why, but
7.
7
For himself?
His assistant, yes, for himself. His assistant had Tate doesn't eat. Tate only eats. He intermittent fast. He only eats once a day in the evening.
Yeah.
Militantly, all he does is black coffee and fruit during the day. That's it. So they ordered and they made sure they were like, "Is the coffee there?" The assistant was super about 7 black coffees, no sugar, no milk, and fruit.
Yeah.
So we got like 10 black coffees and a bunch of fruit. It was ready to go. He walks in, security vets out the place. We sit down, light up some cigars, and I interviewed him for 5 hours straight. 5 hours straight.
5 hours.
5 hours. We took like 2 or 3 restroom breaks, asked him every question on planet Earth.
Did you prepare for it?
So it's funny, man. A lot of people ask me that. I would say internally, yes.
Yeah.
I'm always prepared.
Yeah.
That would be my answer. But no, did I manually go through and whatever? Maybe I've never prepared more than, maybe 10, 15 minutes for a podcast.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I have found that if I do, I start trying to chase something, an expectation.
Right.
Okay, do this, do that.
Yeah.
Or I try to like recreate or re-get the guest to ask something that on another podcast because I listened to it. So that's comfortable to go to.
Yeah.
So over the years, I enjoy the rawness of it, and I actually enjoy learning with the audience because I assume the audience knows nothing. That's why most of my stories, interviews start out of childhood and then I'll work the way up because human beings, when they're listening to content, think one of 2 things: me too or so what?
Yeah.
Me too or so what? So I try to always get people to go, oh, me too. Oh, I also came from a toxic. Oh, I also understand heartbreak. Oh, I also. So that gets people to stay. So that my preparation was that, but I try to always be ready. Like I try to live in an energy space where if you're like, hey, you're interviewing, Vladimir Putin in 20 minutes, can you do it? Boom, let's roll.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
So that's always been my
5-hour
attitude.
interview.
5 hours, and the guard is standing at the door
The whole time.
armed. No emotion, no expression. Like how we're here. Imagine like literally just like this, off camera, the guard was standing right there at the door armed. And there was one right outside the door armed too. And Tate had a he had like a bag with him, which obviously was armed.
Yeah.
But just like ready to go. So it's like there's like 10 guns in the room. Like 10 guns in the room, guards, armored vehicle, like the whole thing. You want to talk about anxiety, bro? And I'm hosting him on my show, on my thing. In my head, I'm like, what the is life? But yeah.
How long did you spend in Romania?
A week. Because after that, we started getting like weird vibes from the cops and the staff. And, and he's like he wasn't supposed to be there. Yeah, it was crazy. So we wanted to kind of get out of the country kind of quick so we didn't get stuck and thrown in jail.
A week's a good amount of time, though.
Yeah. So one thing is I scheduled it so that when we flew in, we do the interview like the next day.
Yeah.
Because I knew if we did it prior, I'd be in crippling anxiety the whole week leading up to it. Just
exactly.
Like, So I wanted to get there, and before I realized what the hell's going on, do it, and then kind of enjoy the next few days to kind of decompress. So that's what we ended up doing. But we talked about everything, and I got to, because so many people about Tate have these opinions, and he's a misogynist, and he's a this. But what was cool is I got to ask human questions, right? Like similar to how I asked you the other day, like, yo, Jared, what was it like when you got the huge wire that was like amazing? Most people in life wonder that.
Yeah.
And will never ask that.
Right.
They will never ask the valet guy, hey, what celebrities come here?
Yeah.
What was the wire?
Right.
So I get a kick out of being the guy who, for the audience, gets to ask what everyone's thinking. Kind of like the kid in class who had the guts to raise their hand. I don't take it for granted that I get to raise my hand with Tate and be like, yo, you're causing all this controversy, but like, what do you say to people who go, I like your philosophies, but the way you deliver it is like provoking and throws people off.
You
right?
gotta know that.
Right. So to me, it's when I interview people, it's not that I always agree with them. Right. A lot of people, we lost some business because people were pissed about that, and other people like loved it. Right. So that's the universe in balance. But yeah, I got to ask and do that, and it was
that the
surreal.
most interesting podcast experience you've done?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
of course. Flying to Europe to do that, and the anxiety and the stress and flying the whole team, and is it going to happen? Is it not? And then he shows up, and then we thought it was going to be an hour or two, and he's like, no, man, I got all day. We lit up 2-3 cigars.
Wow.
What's crazy is we weren't supposed to smoke up the room. It was like a crazy fine if we did.
Yeah.
But he came in and lit it up, and all of us just kind of looked at each other, and we're just like, don't say anything, just let him do it. And then at the end, he was like, yeah, by the way, don't worry about the cigar smoke. Like, I'll take care of the whole thing. And yeah, I got to interview Andrew Tate for 5 hours.
That's incredible.
Smoking cigars and talking about life and business and what it's all about.
How was interviewing PBD?
Patrick Bet-David's awesome, man. I've had Patrick on the show twice, and
you've had him on twice now.
Yeah, I've had Pat on twice. He's become a cool. One thing that's cool is that a lot of these guys have shown me a lot of love.
Yeah.
And Tom Bilyeu, same thing, and have given me access and disproportionate opportunities, and I recognize that. But Patrick was awesome. Same thing, man. I got to. I think, and why not to toot my own horn, and I say it from a genuine place. I think when you genuinely care, people feel that.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I think people feel here. There's no agenda. We're not trying to sell anything.
Yeah.
Me and you, like, we vibe, smoke cigars all the time. We would have this conversation whether there was cameras or not.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I think when you care, people feel that.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to be in an energy where someone cares about something that's being said and not feel compelled in some way to reciprocate, validate, whatever it is. But yeah, I mean, he's awesome. Runs a super well-oiled ship. He obviously just exited his company, showed me his vault, gave me a tour of the whole thing. And yeah, I got to see behind the scenes, and he's really intelligent about the guests he gets. Like, he's getting mafia bosses and politicians.
Yeah.
But it was surreal. Super awesome guy.
What was the most insightful thing you've learned from any of your guests? I know it's a big loaded question.
That they're all made of the same skin, flesh, and bones and blood as me and you. It's all the same tissue. It's all the same. The difference is the internal game. Right? We live on the same planet. We drink the same water. We go to the same restaurants. We defecate and urinate the same way. We have the same orgasms. We have the same desires. We have the same emotional. All things are equal. The only difference is the internal energy shift.
Yeah.
And I've learned that by example. And the common denominator of all of them is no matter what they were experiencing extrinsically, they internally shifted things, and that made the difference.
If someone were to watch one of your interviews, which one would you say is the best one?
Oh, dude, I'm asked this all the time. My favorite, except ours, of course, my favorite ever was Dr. John DeMartini.
Oh, yeah.
I loved it. Dude, that was the only time in my life where I did an interview where the second I finished, I was like, I don't care how weird I sound. I was like, dude, can we film again tomorrow? Like, I literally was so compelled. That's probably my favorite interview because he talks about this concept very practically, of like, if you don't fill your day with high priority actions that inspire you, then by default, your day will fill up with low priority distractions that don't. I'll say it again. If you're lost right now, or maybe you're doing well, but you want to get to the next level, you got to realize that if you don't fill your day with high priority actions that inspire you, if you don't plug into the energy, right? If you don't do that, then by default, your day will fill up with low priority distractions that don't. A more simple way to put it is where seeds don't grow, weeds do, right? And with seeds, you got to water it, you got to plant it, you got to put the seed, you got to do all. But if you do nothing, weeds will grow, right? And I think, obviously, there's so much more he talks about, but to me, his ability to talk about that and then balance, like how he talks about the concepts that, similar to what we talked about at the top of the pod, that the universe is always in perfect balance, right? What goes up must come down. When you get a cold or fever, your body does the opposite to heal you. Whenever you get too high, right? Think about people who get high. Oh, I have a hangover, right? Yep. The universe has to balance out the other side. Jeff Bezos took on $30 billion worth of debt, I think. And then, if he didn't take on $30 billion worth of debt, he probably wouldn't have gotten to a net worth of $30 billion, right? Similar to your story, right? Had you not ridden these low lows, the other side wouldn't have been available, right? The pendulum swings through the same door. And so I think his ability to talk about that kind of showed me in the audience that expect it and enjoy the balance of it. Yeah. And that there's wisdom in the balance of it. And to sum up something I learned from Tony this week is, whether you believe in God or not, is to see what God sees. see what God sees. So often we're stuck with what we see and what we think and what we want and we believe, and oh no, this is that. Oh, this is like the thing in the past, like a toxic relationship in the past. I should do this. This is a bad business partner. I should do this. And we come up with all these things that get in the way of like a beautiful reality in front of us. And it's crazy because if you expect balance and kind of can self-regulate and stay balanced, watch as things come to you. Watch as things flow to you. And he did a great job of teaching that. So that was probably my favorite.
I think see what God sees is another way of saying, live more in your soul and your intuition than your mind. I think there's so many different words that mean the same things.
Yes.
People say things differently, but they mean the same things oftentimes.
It's semantics. Yeah, it's semantics. But I think tune to the level of energy you want. Like literally, like I think so few people do that. Les Brown talks about it. Most people, the mistake most people make, in my opinion, and I've done it plenty of times, is most people don't aim too high and miss. They aim too low and hit.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
100%.
Most people don't aim too high and miss. They aim too low and hit. Oh,
Yep.
my goal is to get this commission thing. Okay, cool, got it.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But it's when you do the scary thing, the reservoirs of energy show up, right?
Yeah.
That are and that's where the magic shows up. Tony talks about this concept that it's crazy. It's actually like they did, Carillion photography, where they can see your body, under like an X-ray, right?
Yeah.
Carillion photography, the temperature of the body, so you can read cells in the body and different elements of the body. And he talks about this concept that when people go up and experience the anxiety of stage fright, the anxiety of that, they measured that compared to, I think it was the Rolling Stones or something. When they go on stage, their excitement. And on a cellular level, they are both the exact same experiences.
Wow.
What one calls like euphoria and excitement for the show, the other calls an anxiety attack.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Same cellular experience,
Yeah.
but because of the internal label, the ripples are different.
Right.
And I think that is another metaphor of exactly the difference between, the many who don't and the passionate few who do.
It's a great, great segue into the passionate few. I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's so many lessons that you've learned from so many incredible people that need to be compiled into a book or into something that you can share with people.
I'm actually
Cliff Notes.
I'm actually working on a book right now, potentially with Hay House.
Nice.
So that's in the works. I actually got a name for it too, so I'm stoked about that. Yeah.
Yeah, can't wait to hear about that.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely shout you out in the book as well.
Amazing.
One other thing too, I wanted to say is like, to your credit and to your point about the internal shifts, I think, touching on that point, like most people don't aim too high and miss, they aim too low and hit, is that there's a certain comfort in doing more of the same.
Yeah.
And if you allow yourself the possibility of a new reality, a whole new level of energy is available. And the thing that I always try to do is part of why I get so animated or why I express things, whatever, and you probably even sense it, is I try to literally live every day as if it was my last.
Yeah.
Literally. So that's why, like, with everybody I talk to, like even all my homies, my bros, when we get off the phone call, I'm like, all right, love you, bro. Like,
Yeah.
you probably, like, it's not cool or art bet or that.
Yeah.
Like, because you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know the last time.
So true.
Even with my mom and dad, right? Granted, there's like, they get older and health can become an issue. And so, I treat every experience like this is my last day. This is the last time we'll ever interact. So I want to say what's on my mind. I want to ask questions. And when you live every day like you're going to die, there's a certain amount of life and energy that's available versus just cruise controlling on autopilot.
I think people have this misconception that, like, all right, this is my life, and it's like, obviously you're not going to live again, but people think like, oh, I could learn from this, and like, I'll do it over again one day. But it's like, you don't. Not maybe you reincarnate as someone else, but not you.
Yes.
Whatever you believe, like, this is your one life.
Beautiful you said that, dude. I actually, on the way here, there was one story I wanted to make sure to say, and you just reminded me of that. So thank you, God, and thank you, Jared. But it's basically that I heard this thing from John Mayer one time in an interview, and he goes, most people live their life in kind of on autopilot, cruise control, so to speak, and they get to the end of their life, and I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done that. Suddenly, the anxiety you felt to talk to the girl at 22 is nothing when you're 80 and going,
Yeah.
fuck, I should have gone for it.
Yeah.
I should have done. Or the business you should have started, or the deal you should have tried, or the whatever it is. And and it's crazy, but he talked about this concept, and it's never left me. I've never forgotten. He said, imagine you lived your whole life and you fucked it up. You fucked up your relationship. You fucked up your finances. You fucked up your body. You didn't live your dreams. You didn't go for it. You listened to you didn't do any of it. And you get to the end of your life and you're on your deathbed and you're like, oh man, fuck, I fucked it up. And you just like pray and you're like, please God, give me another chance. Please God, give me another chance. Like, I'm not going to make these mistakes. Please, please, please. And God goes, all right, fine. Here's your second chance. And from this moment you go, oh shit, I'm 32. Fuck, I get to do it again. Fuck. Now live your life onwards. Like, this is your second chance, not your first. And watch how different your distinctions are. Watch how different you react to fear. Watch how different you react to these things. So future project as if the whole thing went wrong, and this is your second chance to do it right.
Is that not the same thing as the Dickens process when you're living this horrible existence at Tony's events? When, for people who don't know what it is, you're envisioning, you gained a bunch of weight, you ruined your relationship, you never took that chance, and you feel the pain, because it's like one thing to think about, you feel it, and you feel it for 10 minutes, and people start getting angry and moaning, and they're in misery, and it's you build it, and then you get pulled on a slingshot, and you're pulled, and then you get shot back into like where you are right now.
Yes,
that's a powerful experience.
It is, man, and it speaks volumes about, there's two ways to live your life. One is if nothing is a miracle. One is if everything's a miracle, And when you take advantage of that, I think you even talked about, for you, the Dickens process. You imagined, maybe tell the story one more time for the audience. Is like, I think it was like you were imagining this house and car.
Oh, that's a different process.
Okay.
The Dickens process is when you're imagining the bad stuff. It's like
future projecting.
You never did the thing you said you were going to do. You gained 40 pounds, you gained 60 pounds. Now you're sick and you're looking in the mirror and you're feeling horrible, and then and your wife left you, and you're feeling that pain, like what John Mayer is saying, and then boom, you're back now, and it's like, okay, I got a second chance.
Oh shit, yeah.
But that's on the opposite side.
Yeah.
The other practice is you're actually, since we sabotage ourselves and our beliefs get in the way, you imagine yourself as someone who only loves and cares about you and only wants what's best for you.
Yes.
And you walk up to your own future life, and you're embracing your future life through their lens, because your mind's not sabotaging it. And you're admiring your future life, and you're putting love and you're putting emotion behind a vision.
Yeah. And
then eventually, 10, 15 minutes in, you walk upstairs, you walk into the bathroom, and you look in the mirror, and it was you the whole time.
Yeah.
So it's like he hits both of those. He hits the pulling you down the bad path, and then letting yourself get down the good path and putting emotion behind it.
Yeah, well said. I have one more quick question for you, dude. When you obviously you had a successful exit, you built this 9-figure company, but along the way you've had success as well. But I'm curious, for you, what was the biggest difference between what you imagined it would take and look like and be like versus the reality? Was it a little easier than you thought? Was it harder than you thought? Was it actually more relaxed and like, oh yeah, just do the right things over a sustained period of time? What ended up being the reality for you versus what you thought it was for the audience who might be in that first phase of their life and their ambition? I'm curious.
So it's a great question, because when we envision something that we want, our mind tends to think of the worst case scenario. It thinks of how hard it'll be, how bad it'll be when we fail. Mm-hmm. And the truth is, going back to the very beginning of the conversation, things happen in ways that you never could have imagined. But I'll give you an example. I'll give you a good example.
They happen right on time for magic. Yeah.
I'll give you a really perfect example of this. So 2 years ago, we had ZenDrop. The company we had a ton of users. And I was looking at the market, and I was seeing there were these brand aggregators coming up. Thrasio, for example, was buying all the Amazon brands. What they were doing was they were raising money at a 10x valuation, and they were buying companies at a 5x valuation, and they were arbitraging the difference. And I was like, that's an interesting model. Why is no one doing it in the software space? We have all these users. If we buy companies, we can probably grow them. And so I hired on someone to build me a financial model to say, is this a good idea or a bad idea? Ended up being a really good idea. I brought him on to help me with it. We ended up going out and we got 6 software companies to sign LOIs that we're going to buy them. We didn't have the money. We just said, we're going to buy you. We hired investment bankers. We went to private equity. We spent $500,000.
Fund the deal, yeah.
Ended up spending 6 months, $500,000. And Shopify was down 80% in the public markets from the time we started talking to the PE firm that we were going to close with to the time we lost the deal. And so this whole roll-up didn't happen.
And for people who don't know what a roll-up is when a bunch of companies get together and then another company acquires.
You essentially
bunch of companies.
You buy a bunch of companies in the same industry, and you're either using debt to do it, and the cash flow is paying the debt, or you're raising equities at a higher valuation, and you're arbitraging the difference. So
Correct.
I had this vision of how it was going to happen, and it failed. And at that point in life, I had learned like things are going to happen the way they're supposed to. I wasn't really attached to it. Fast forward 2 years later, we end up merging with one of our competitors that started doing a roll-up at the same time, but our company was worth much more. They already had 4 other companies. And now we're doing that same roll-up, but the outcome was vastly better because our company was worth 6-7 times as much as it was 2 years ago. So the whole thing happened, but it happened 2 years later and in a totally different way than I imagined it to.
6x bigger, yeah.
But it happened. So to answer your question, I expected something to happen a certain way. I thought it would be hard. But I was able to get past the fear because I've done things before. And it didn't happen that way.
Real quick, just could you zoom in real quick? Because I think it's so important for the audience to understand. When you're trying to do this roll up, and people might hear this and go, oh shit, like Jared knew how to hit up a lawyer and put $500,000 in, right? Like, it's not that fluent to Jared. Like, how much of you didn't even know who to fucking talk to or who to hit up? Like, how much of it, just to humanize it to the audience so they can get that.
Yeah.
Because I think to me, that is the biggest thing I've learned doing interviews. Nobody knows what the fuck they're doing. You just go, I don't know.
I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew that I was doing something I should be exploring because of the intuition.
Bingo.
So when I thought about the idea, something felt right about it. So it caused me to, okay, what's the next step? I don't know anything about this.
Yeah.
So who, not what. So I called someone that knows more about this. He said, that's got a lot of potential. You should probably model it out. Okay, I got to model it out. Who, not what. Hey, I need someone to model this out. Connects me to the who. We model it out. Yes. It's a good idea. The breadcrumbs, you follow the breadcrumbs, yes. And ultimately it looked like a failure. It didn't work. We wasted $500,000. The deal didn't happen. But fast forward 2 years later, the exact thing I wanted to happen happened at a much bigger scale in a much easier way. And now we have a much better team and a much better infrastructure than I could have had 2 years ago when we started it. So to answer the question, things happen in ways completely unexpected. And so it would be really easy to get attached to that failure and feel down about it and say, I'm not good enough, whatever it may be. Luckily, I'd had validations in the past, and I was able to say, whatever's supposed to happen will happen. And maybe I thought it wouldn't have taken 2 years, but just let go.
Yeah.
And 2 years later, space and time are a weird concept.
Yes.
But it ended up happening 2 years later, exactly how I wanted it to.
And that goes, I love that you say that. It goes back to that point that, space, I got this from just so much experiences of life. Space and time horizons are made up. So when you go, oh, I want to make $1 million this year. That is such 365 days.
Yeah.
What an arbitrary number.
Yeah.
I want to make this amount in 365. Why not 300?
Right.
Why not 12?
Right.
Why not 50? Why not 200?
Well, it's the same example.
It's made up constructs,
tell you
and then we get hung up on these made up constructs.
Dude, things exactly.
And it means nothing on a site or your cells don't know 365 and Tuesday at 12
It's just a construct in our minds.
Yes.
The story, obviously, I've told you many times of how I manifested this car in 60 days that could not have possibly happened in 60 days.
The Lamborghini while your wife was cutting hair.
Yeah. it would have been impossible.
He dropped off his wife to cut hair and then went to buy a Lamborghini real quick.
I didn't say, hey, I want to buy a Lamborghini in 60 days. How would I do it? I did that exercise where I imagined my future life and I put emotion behind it and I let go, and then life somehow served it to me.
Yeah, 100%. I'll give you a quick add-on story to that. Remember I told you I got into real estate as an agent?
Yeah.
So I've always looked for the miracle of the opportunity, right? Maybe it's laziness, maybe it's opportunity. I don't know what it is. Ingenuity, I'll call it. When I was an agent in real estate, I didn't know anything. And I go into the office my first day, and all I care about is a top performer. I don't care who's making the most money. Right? I want to study what you're doing. How are you doing? Who are you talking to? How? Period. And I know nothing, zero. I took a crash course. It took me 3 times to pass my real estate license exam. I could not study for the life of me, but I went to these crash courses, somehow passed. Anyways, so I get my license. I go to the office, and this is when I first got into Tony Robbins. So I'm make your move, say yes. Before I get on calls, people are like, "Why is this guy on a trampoline?" Anyways, so I go, and everyone's cold calling, and I'm making cold calls, and I'm just like, man, this is so. And I realized the top producing guy is not selling. Actually, sold the least amount of units. He's not selling a lot of homes. But I look at the ticket and it's higher,
good ones,
chunky ones.
Yeah.
And 2-3% of $5 million and $10 million, $200,000, $300,000 commissions. versus the guy who's selling $500,000 houses and making, significantly less. And so I kind of shadowed him, probably annoyed him a little bit with all these questions. Now he's actually become a good friend. Shout out Danny Navarro. But I'm seeing this and I'm like talking to him and all this, and I'm like, well, are the forms any different that you fill out, right? The purchase agreements, or when you make an offer on a property, or the escrow and the process, is anything different? He's like, no. He's like, usually just high ticket people they're very particular, but if they like you, they're kind of easygoing as long as you proactively communicate. That's it.
Yeah.
Versus other people who are like, putting their life savings for this $500,000 house.
Yeah.
Versus the guy who's buying a $5 million house for his family in the summer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just the summer house, and they have like 3 or 4 others, and they'll give you all those listings, right?
Yeah.
So I heard that, but everyone else in the office I talked to was like, oh, I make 100 calls a day, and I like do it. And so my brain went, what sound? So I finally switched like maybe a week or 2 in to that. And I remember one day going to the office, I called a bunch. I was on cold calls forever, and I was like, how much do I want to make in commissions, right? And I was like, it'd be cool to make $100,000. Right?
Yeah.
At that time, I had never, so I was like, if I could make $100K, like, I'm fucking set. So I do the math, and I'm like, okay, so that's like 500,000, and then the broker takes some. So I'd probably need to sell like 12 houses at 500,000, right? I'm like doing all that, whatever it is. And I tell my guy that, I'm like, is this a good plan? He's like, yeah, or you could sell one for $5 million.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah. Like, why didn't I think it? Like, I just assumed I couldn't, right? So I go on the MLS, right? And I grew up in a city called Walnut, California, which nobody's ever heard of, maybe until now. And I look up the most expensive house. I go to the MLS, you can play with the settings, and I go to the most expensive house in the city, right? The king of the hill. I shit you not, the listing price was $5 million, right? It was an expired, by the way. I looked for and it was an expired listing. And so I had a buddy who could like reverse trace the number. So on a whim, with no experience, nothing, I call this, and I'm nervous out of my mind. Dude, I just got my license like 2 weeks ago, like maybe a week and a half prior. I've never done a listing. I've never even filled out the form. I know nothing. Zero. Kind of like the interview. I just go for the big thing right away, and the universe rewards you. So I cold call this guy, and it goes to voicemail, right? And I'm like, hey, hey, what's going on? My name is Omar, and I saw your property here. I actually grew up here. I have no idea what I'm saying. I literally learned the terms about acreage. I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm just using key, lingo and shit. That's a funny story. So I end up leaving a voicemail. Nothing happens. The next day, I get a call from. He's like, "Hey, Omar, loved your voicemail. Yeah, absolutely. Why don't you come by the house? Are you free today? Are you free today?" So I'm like, "All right." I end up going, and my first listing appointment and deal ever was a $5 million house.
Wow.
And it just proved to me right away, like, oh, just assume, like, not out of negligence or arrogance, but just the paperwork is the same. The only difference is on the form. You just add 3 more zeros, 2 more zeros.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's no more work.
And because I wrote 2 more zeros, my check had 2 more.
Dude, that's a great example of like when you're starting something. The person starting a huge company versus small. Like starting a restaurant will probably be harder than starting a massive tech company.
Dude, yes. I'm so glad you said that. I guarantee you, and I say this respectfully to entrepreneurs out there, I guarantee you there's somebody that has been working on their restaurant for 30 years.
Yeah. Still
that their profit wouldn't amount to, for example, I got one of my buddies started a roofing company. He's actually the one I wasn't able to make it to in Dallas. Shout out Kaiser. Started a company 3 years ago, and he also exited at a 9-figure valuation in 3 years.
Wow.
And like 3 years is nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. 3 years ago, like you know what I mean?
It's because you're aiming higher
from the beginning.
Yeah, from the start.
And the universe doesn't know like, you know what I mean? There's people who've worked way harder than you and I, and because the vehicle they're in, the beliefs they're in, the people they call versus their whole life, and they can the sad part is they beat themselves up. Oh man, how come he's this? When you're the one that just could have played a bigger game from the beginning.
You still could.
Just give yourself permission. And I think that's really what it comes down to, permission.
Yeah.
It's so few people do, and the few who do end up being the 1%.
Yeah. Aim higher. There's really no limit. So to wrap this up, we've had a great conversation.
Oh man.
I mean, usually I would say, what do you want to leave people with? We've left them with a lot of stuff. What would be a place you want to leave people with from this conversation?
Nothing in life has any meaning except the meaning you give it. It could be the best life ever. It could be the biggest mistake ever, right? I think Tony talks about this concept too, that your life can either be an example or a warning. But my best advice to people, honestly, is to live your life, this one, as if it was your second chance. As if you said no to the things that wouldn't change your life. As if you played it safe. As if you didn't take the chance, if you didn't make the call. And also know that the feeling of anxiety and pushing past it, that right there, the better you get at that, the more money you'll make, the more impact you'll have, the more things that will happen. That feeling, most people feel that and like, no, I'd rather not. Like, no. Get really comfortable with that feeling. Everybody I know at the highest level flirts with that feeling all the time. And when you can make that an ally, it's a counselor, not a jailer.
Love that.
That is the biggest thing I would tell people. Because you can have all these theories and stuff, but then you get in your body and you're like, oh, shit, like I'll intellectually try it, but shit, they're in front of me. I don't want to ask the question. I don't want to do that. Like, But if you just expect that, just know that that's your rock concert. If you want to live your dreams, the price of admission is feeling the fear and doing it anyway.
I love it. That's a great ending note. I can't wait to see where all these things lead to, what future interviews you have. You've already interviewed some of the biggest people in the world, but I can't wait to see where it goes. Omar, thank you so much. What a great conversation.
My man, Jared, I appreciate you, and I appreciate all you're doing for the Zen Hard community, and I hope people subscribe and check out all your stuff, man. Your stuff's awesome.
Thank you, brother.
Appreciate you, man.